Paul Maynard.
Thank you, Mr. Day. Can I congratulate the honourable member for supporting this debate? I'll try to be quick, because I know other members want to speak, so it will be high speed, if not on high rail, for making a nice change. I welcome the progress the government is making on aviation policy. I do think that they are making steps in the right direction. It isn't fast enough for me, it isn't fast enough for many in the industry, but maybe we need to learn patience. Good evidence-based policy is not one of Jamie's 5-minute meals. It actually needs good quality evidence. And if we don't form policy based on evidence rather than prejudice, that, in my mind, is simply plain stupid. I'm not here to act as a booster for Blackpool Airport, though it is a wonderful airport. Do all fly in and see the wonders of the far coast. I don't want to even waffle on about APD. I don't want to tempt the minister down a route she probably doesn't want to go down, given she is not a Treasury Minister. I don't even want to bang on about a third runway at Heathrow, because that's a stable door, I think, long ago shut, unfortunately. But there is something important that we do have to discuss, a more fundamental question, which is, what does the UK PLC need from our aviation industry? What do we actually need? And hidden, buried away, like a nugget of gold within the scoping document, are two fundamental questions that I do believe really need important consideration by the government. That is, what are the benefits of maintaining a hub airport in the UK, and how important are transit and transfer passengers to the UK economy? Now, they may seem self-evident questions to you. How could anyone dispute them? Yet I met a commercial director for a regional airport a fortnight ago who said, no such thing as a hub airport. There's no government definition of one, so they don't exist. So we don't need a hub airport anymore. It struck me as the most illogical, ludicrous thing to possibly argue, but nonetheless, he tried. Now, far rather than focusing on Boris Island, I would actually rather be focused on Boris Pol Airport, which, for those of you who don't know, is the main airport for the city of Kiev, capital of the Ukraine. A classic example of an emerging market destination, economically crucial, that we don't have sufficiently good services to from the UK. Yet all we can seem to focus on in terms of aviation policy is some future airport at some future point in a Thames estuary. What we actually need to be focusing on are the needs here and now of the UK economy, of UK PLC. And I welcome the work the Minister I know is putting in to making Heathrow function better and to make sure that the other South East airports are functioning better, that we are getting bang for buck, that we are extracting the maximum from the capacity we already have. And I do genuinely want to see a chain of pearls around London of excellent functioning airports, but one of them cannot be a pearl. One has to be a diamond. One has to be a hub airport. And to understand why that is, we have to actually understand what the definition of a hub airport is and why it matters to the economy. Transfer passengers do not exist merely for the benefit of Starbucks. The Frontier Economics Foundation recently issued a report that demonstrated that there are at least 13 flights to emerging market destinations where over half the passengers are transfer passengers, i.e. not starting their journey at Heathrow. And the more that we squeeze the short-haul flights the Honourable Gentleman referred to, the harder it will be to sustain those flights to emerging market economies because we will not have the transfer passengers. And that, to me, is a very grave concern. I confess entirely, a few months ago, I wondered, did the UK really need a hub airport within the UK? The Japanese Transport Minister once famously said that Incheon in South Korea was now Japan's hub. I know that for many of my constituents, Schiphol or Charles de Gaulle are essentially their hub airports in the north of England. So I began to think, well, can the UK survive without a hub airport? Can't we just fly to Paris or Amsterdam? But this Frontier Economics report fundamentally made the case as to why we could not do that. And it was explicit about the amount of trade that we are losing as a consequence of having poorer connectivity with the rest of the emerging market economies. It isn't just about the amount of people flying through Heathrow, it's where they're going to. And the Honourable Member for Blakely and Broughton rightly made a point that Heathrow's number of destinations is gradually dropping. And over the past 5-year period, it's gone down from, I think, 227 to 180. And over those same 5 years, the number of destinations reached from the main competitor hubs in Europe have all gone up. So there is clearly a case where Heathrow is entering a period of consolidation. It may be getting more passengers, but they are going to fewer places. And that is the beginning of the end, usually in a hub cycle, of an airport's hub status. That's what happened to New York about 20 years ago. The destination started to drop off, and it ceased, it lost its hub status. So whilst I fully expect that Heathrow, in the coming 20 years, will remain London's major international gateway, I do have concerns as to whether it will retain its hub status. You may argue, does that matter? New York no longer has a hub airport, yet it remains a world city. I would question whether we, as UK PLC, can afford to sacrifice the economic benefits that come from having a vibrant, well-connected hub airport. I think it's fundamental, actually. There are 30... I will happily give way.
Thank my honourable friend for giving way. Does he realise that in London we have currently 92 flights per week to China, whereas Paris is 73 and Frankfurt is 69? So we do have good connectivity with China, one of the most important growing economies. And surely it's about working with the businesses in China and elsewhere to find out what the requirements are. And has he had any correspondence with businesses there to find out if they do require additional flights into Heathrow and London?
I thank the honourable lady for that very useful intervention. Of course, the main reason that we historically have far more flights into China is, of course, our historic ties to Hong Kong. And if you look at the destinations that we serve, it is Beijing, Shanghai, and then we have over 3,000, I think, seats each week to Hong Kong. If you look at Frankfurt, I think they're serving 5, and I think Paris is serving 4. So we dominate on the Hong Kong routes, but we underperform in every other of the top 10 Chinese cities. And of course, the economic growth in China is actually occurring not in Hong Kong, but in cities that most of us have probably never heard of, the likes of Chengdu and Dongguan, which no one is actually yet serving. So I think far more than focusing just on the numbers of people who are flying and the routes they are, we have to look at the connectivity once again. Are we serving where the economic growth is? And I would make a plea to the government that whilst I welcome what they're doing to make the airports around London, around the South East, more suited to improving the passenger experience, can we not overlook the benefits that an active, well-maintained, well-funded, well-working hub airport that connects to where UK PLC needs to connect to grow, that we don't overlook that. It's a fundamental part of our aviation strategy. Thank you very much.